Now, for those social media buffs here in the audience today, you've already recognized Caroline as a key social media influencer and someone who helps businesses raise their profile online. I'm old enough to remember people putting ads in the Belfast Telegraph and various other things like that. Some of my best friends are print journalists, so I have to mention that. But Caroline has a wonderful story to tell. It's an inspirational story to tell. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the thoughts of our guest speaker today, Mrs. Caroline O'Neill.
Wow, what an introduction. What style. Oh my God, I was sitting there looking at everybody coming up and everyone looks unreal. What a celebration this is. And as I stand here today, I'm trying so hard to think of my own graduation, and honestly, I can't remember it. And people always say, you lose the memories of things, and it's really important to cherish every moment. So I'm 39 and I honestly can't remember like what I wore, where we went after the ceremony, who was even there. There were no iPhones, so I actually don't have a picture of my on my graduation day, only that professional one that my mummy hangs so proudly in the hall and tells everyone my daughter graduated. And I'm going, stop, but no, she's proud. I let her have that moment, but I just want to say relish in every moment of today, and take that picture, make that video for TikTok, write that note in your diary, post that picture on Instagram or Facebook and write that caption, because that's kind of the modern online way to remember, isn't it? And these are great memories to have, so I just wanted to say that before I even start. But now to introduce myself, and I'm Caroline O'Neill and I'm from Coal Island, which is just over the road. I'm founder of Dig for Success and Dig Mama, the Dig podcast. You're probably thinking that's a whole lot of digs. Where did that come out of? I'll tell you that in a minute. And I'm also co-founder of the Northern Ireland Social Media Awards. I'm also wife to Jared and mummy to Pierce, Dara and Tess. And I think it's so important as we all sit here and stand here today to know that we're all part of a family unit and friends, and the speakers before me have mentioned that, but it's not just about business, it's about life. And it's not just about work, it's about life. So that's kind of what I'm going to touch on today as well. But when I was asked to be the guest speaker today, I honestly was so shocked, and I know a lot of people might stand up here and say that, but I feel so honoured and I feel overwhelmed, and I hope I'm going to give you some words of wisdom. But when you were all standing up and I was walking up with all these amazing people here, I was like, oh my God, I'm so not supposed to be here. Like, this imposter syndrome crept in. I was like, they've got the wrong woman for the job. But let's hope that you get some value from some of the story that I want to tell you today. So I talked earlier about my graduation. I graduated as an occupational therapist in 2005. And I worked for 2 years in different posts. I was in North and West Belfast, gained a lot of experience there in all the different areas, and I loved it. And I loved my job very much. I worked at Craigavon Hospital as well, and was part of a great team there. But I love that caring aspect and that holistic way in which an occupational therapist looks at a client, and I don't see that time as wasted because I look holistically at everything that I do now. So I definitely learned a lot of skills as an occupational therapist. But when I was studying, I had always worked in retail, and I think I got the business bug when I was doing that. Whenever I told my occupational therapy boss that I was leaving, he said, "You're going to open a bagel bar, aren't you?" And I said, "Why are you saying that?" He said, "You definitely mentioned that during lunchtime one time." So I was always talking about what I was going to do, and all these great ideas that you just can't do in the wards of Craigavon Hospital. So I was back. And I honestly knew from the minute that opportunity came up that I wanted to and needed to do it. I think that entrepreneurial spark was there. My mummy was absolutely devastated that I was leaving my good job as an occupational therapist, that she had that picture of me with my hat. She was devastated. She actually did beg me not to do that. She said, "Please don't leave your good job, you've worked so hard." And my dad, who is definitely the entrepreneurial one in the house, encouraged me to do it. And he told me he'd lend me the money because I hadn't a penny. And I had student loans up to my ears, and I guess that was very overwhelming to think about opening a shop with no money. But he supported me in that way, and he drives a digger. So that's why I called my shop Dig. And it was a tribute to him, and it's grown into a great brand today. So I'm very proud of that, and it'll always be a wee nod to him for his support, and my mummy too. She got over it eventually. But I guess there's always, you know, the parent that wants, you know, to protect their child or whatever, and afraid of them going into the big bad world. But my dad was pushing me out the door. So I guess my first piece of wisdom for you, based on my experience from that scenario, is your gut instinct is a great help when you're making decisions. Now, obviously, having all the right information is very important, but my gut was telling me to go with my passions and dreams. And you're going to come to many crossroads after you leave this room today. But always remember that gut instinct, both when dealing with people and in situations, because it's not too often that it's wrong. So I began my entrepreneurial journey in retail for the next 12 years, and I learned a lot, an awful lot. Retail toughens you up, that's for sure. I learned how to be tough. Being a 24-year-old in business had its challenges for sure. From not being taken seriously by others in the retail sector to dealing with customers on a daily basis, which at times was very challenging. I remember one day crying in front of a customer because she ordered me over the counter because I didn't give her enough discount. I never, ever, ever forget that day. It taught me a lot. It taught me to treat others with respect and never ever degrade anyone with words. That day changed me greatly, and it made me stronger. And I urge you to remember this when you're faced with that challenging situation in work or in life and you want to crumble. You may crumble just a little, but I guarantee that you're going to come back fighting and you're going to be the better person. I also learned how to adapt and change. I had to change my business model many times based on the ever-developing landscape of the digital world. Gone were the days when you could stand at your counter and people would just walk through the door. You had to fight for your customers now on social media and offer them the opportunity to buy online. Like, how the hell do you even do that? I had no clue. I had to learn. So as you leave here today, I want you to know, and I'm sure you already do know, that your learning has only just begun. What you've learned over the past few years at Southern Regional College is only a drop in the ocean for what's to come, but how exciting is that? I was thrown into a new digital world, and I loved it. I began to put into practice what I was learning, and the business started to take off, both online and in store. In 2019, I had 6 members of staff and a thriving e-commerce platform, and the future for Dig Children's Wear was bright. With that came many other business owners asking, how have you done that, Caroline? How do you do them videos online? How are you driving people to your website? And this is when Dig for Success was born, an organisation which helps train businesses how to grow their brand and business. So I began to run workshops in my shop in the evening, and my first big event was in the Glenavon Hotel in Cookstown in 2019 with over 150 businesses from all over the country. And this all came from my desire to help other people and share my knowledge. And I want to say to you today, always share what you know and help other people, because it'll come back to you in tenfold. I met a lady the other day and she asked me, how do you get all that cool music on Instagram, you know, when you're doing your reels? And I showed her. I said, I've just changed to be a creator. A lot of people here won't know what that means, but it's technical terms for working on Instagram. And she turned and said to me, do you know how many people I've asked that people that I know, and they wouldn't tell me? And I was like, oh, I would know that. But I said, look, you know, it wasn't hard for me to just pass on that wee bit of knowledge. So the lady went off absolutely buzzing, delighted with her new songs on social media. She creates content for businesses, so this is going to help her make her content better for people. And I just want to say to you, always be that person to help others as you move forward in your working life, but never hold back from being the best version of you, because you're going to reap the rewards for that, I absolutely promise you. So in 2020, all of our lives were changed forever, and in one way or another, like, I'm sure there's people sitting here in front of me now, I'm sure everyone have stories to tell, traumatic, and you know, even within your own self, the way that affected us, we'll never really realise the extent of it. But I was faced with huge changes in my business and in my life. My wee girl was only 3 months old, and you know, I had closed my shop, and I'll never forget the 15th of March in Dungannon, and closing those doors. So it was mainly occasion wear based, and people travelled from all over the country for weddings and communions and confirmations for their kids. So they were all stocked with no prospect of happening, and I was sitting with £250,000 worth of stock, and no way of ever, it wouldn't have mattered if I was giving it away, people wouldn't have taken it because they didn't know what size the kit was going to be when the actual event would come round. So I was stuck in a situation where I couldn't pivot because I had no money to pivot, and people offered me, financial help. Different business owners in Dungannon were so good, so supportive, but I had to make a decision, and I had to be more resilient than I ever knew was possible. I actually didn't even know the true meaning of resilience until I googled it recently, because someone said to me, "You're very resilient, aren't you?" when I was telling them my story. I was like, what does that even mean? The ability to recover quickly from difficulties. I closed Dig Children's Wear, and I honestly felt like my life had fallen apart. But I quickly realised it hadn't. I had my family, and that was talked about today at the start. Family is what's most important. I had my passion for life and for business, and I was going to be okay. I want you to remember this when you hit challenges. At the end of the day, your family and friends is what's most important. So always remember that. So I had to pivot and change, and you too will have to do this in your working life. Nothing stays the same. And if it does, then it's not moving forward. I truly believe that. So I urge you to embrace change and not see it as a failure. I had to do a lot of work on my own inner thoughts to allow me to see that I wasn't a failure, and that this is all part of my journey. As I walked in here today, I had to do the cognitive behavioural therapy to myself. I do deserve to walk up here and tell these people my story, because we all have a story and a journey, and none of it is a failure, it's just a journey. So I knew my passion was helping businesses, so I launched Dig Mama, which is an online platform with using my family experiences to help businesses grow. It's a long story, but that's for another day. But I now focus all my efforts on spending time with my family and using that to help businesses grow, as well as the other things. Dig for Success has grown from strength to strength, as more and more businesses are needing help as they too pivot and change and embrace this online world. The Northern Ireland Social Media Awards is back with a bang, and we're getting ready to celebrate the amazing things that social media can achieve both in business and in life. And that's on the 1st of October in a glittering awards ceremony in the Europa Hotel in Belfast. I also launched the Dig podcast in the last year and a half, because you can tell I like to talk. So it's an educational tool helping businesses and entrepreneurs navigate their way through the many challenges of working life. So I've been very busy. And I've never lost my core values of hard work, integrity, respect for others, and determination to make a difference. I encourage you today to think of your core values as a person. Even before you think about the world of work, what do you stand for? What difference do you want to make? What do you want people to say about you when you're not in the room? This is what's most important. Yes, working life and making money is all part of the journey, but at the end of the day, the impact we make as a person is what's most important. Another key piece of advice I give you as you leave here today is never be afraid to say you don't know. There's so much we don't know. I still don't know the difference in gross and net and VAT and tax, and I still say to my accountant, "Would you tell me that again? I have no clue." So I think there's a lot of courage in saying that you don't know, and you see, when you do hold your hand up and say you don't know, you learn so much, and there's nothing to be gained from staying quiet. So always be honest and say when you don't know. I urge you to think about your personal profile online, and I had to mention this just because it's my line of work. The digital world is amazing, and it has the power to build people up, but it can tear you down in an instant. Always be mindful of what you post online, and think back to your core values. Is that how you want people to see you? Is that what you stand for? And so my final parting words for you all are to work hard, enjoy the good times, learn from your mistakes, and I've had plenty. Hold your head high on this journey, because you deserve all the success that has yet to come for you. Thank you so much.